So in this episode, we have a serial entrepreneur and a speaker, well experienced in creating decentralized networks, tokenized economies, talent platforms, and a global nomad culture. With a career in the tech industry for almost a decade, creating hybrid roles in early stage startups, he recently co-founded a CRM platform for Web3 companies to better manage their customer relations. An avid photographer and a traveler with super chill vibes, Ahmad, welcome to the FabDXP podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. Okay, so I want to now get into it. You, as a serial entrepreneur, you've developed so many different platforms. You've been involved with so many different startups. What I want to start off with is, what's been the biggest mistake you've made and what did it teach you?
Yeah, great question. When I was starting out, I came at it from the perspective of someone who loved like web design and craftsmanship, front-end development. And so, the first time I was a co-founder, I spent so much time making the most beautiful landing page. This was for a startup called Milni. It was an Indian wedding marketplace, or like a way to connect to Indian wedding vendors. And so I made this really beautiful Indian-inspired, landing page, and I made the product. Everything was just like cute colors. I spent so much time on that I really forgot to like check in with what people wanted and the problems they had and the type of things they needed. So I think we attracted a lot of people that immediately left. And I was like, why did they leave? Like I thought we were giving them what they wanted. I built like a live chat so you could talk to vendors. And in the end, it was, I went to a conference and I observed people signing up. And this was, months after building it, so very late to start doing this. And what I found was that as soon as they signed up, and then they looked at the list of vendors, and they saw that it was like a message button, and they go to message, and there's a kind of chat window, and they freeze at that point, and they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what the message should be, even though there's like a little prompt saying like, tell them what you're looking for, or whatever. And so I kind of took that back, and I was like, that's obviously not like something like they need something faster, easier, whatever it is. I absorbed it only by looking in that moment. And so the next thing, a week later, I added a button that just said like I'm interested, or like request information. And then immediately, it went from maybe 2% of people doing an action to 30-40% of people just clicking, I'm interested, just click, click, click. And all the button did was send a message saying I'm interested for more information. But just making that first action go from something you have to think about to just click. So I, completely changed my attitude towards it's in the early stages. It's really not about the beauty of it and the aesthetic and the feeling of it. It's from that level. It's really just like, can you give me the thing I'm looking for in the shortest way possible?
So you made the process, you took out that concept of what do I actually want, and you gave them the option, this or this. Multiple choice seems to work a lot better than letting people write what they want. I think a lot of the times they stall on what is it I actually need, and you get it punchy, short prompt, boom, done.
Exactly.
Incredible. Yeah. Okay, so it did have a massive impact. Interesting. What has been the hardest challenge you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
So last year, my wife was pregnant with twins.
Oh.
And at the same time, I decided to co-found a company.
Oh my God. I don't know whether to say well done for doing two things or to be like, I feel for your wife. Like, oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, she was 4 months pregnant when I decided to do this. And then, when at the week of the birth, I took that week off. I tried to take 2 weeks off, but that wasn't happening. And so the second week I'm still in the hospital and checking analytics and
wow.
So the last year has been wild. It's been absolutely crazy. They're just over one now. I'm used to working long hours. I'm used to working 2 jobs. But this was 12 hours with the babies, 10 hours with the startup, wow. And then 2 hours to sleep.
Gosh. And how are you functioning? Because you look like you've been on holiday for a long time. You don't look exhausted, stressed, or anything. How are you doing it?
Yeah, we got a full-time nanny a couple months ago.
Okay.
But the first 9 months we were in Canada, where that wasn't such an easy thing to find. So that was a huge mistake, and we came to Dubai
wow.
to be closer to my family as well. They're here.
So the support helps you to get through it.
Yeah, it was definitely part of the mistake there was just trying to do it all by myself, and without the support.
And how are you to ask for help? Because that's a lot of founders have that issue in asking for help. If they know that they're, I don't want to say drowning, but they're finding it a challenge to keep going with the amount of things I have to do, and with you, new babies, and that's twins, not even one, it's like two. Dealing with all of this, was it easy for you to ask for help?
Yeah, at some point I think like I should have asked even before I got into that situation, but once I realized like what we'd gotten ourselves into, my parents were super supportive the whole time, and they'd wanted us to move earlier than that. But as soon as I said that, hey, that's something we want to do, they made it super easy for us, which I'm infinitely grateful for.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think a lot of people, if they're lucky enough to have their family and friends to support them, it's a huge resource that they can tap into.
That's also where my co-founders stepped in a lot. Like they were able to take parts that I wasn't able to do. I was able to delegate things that should have been within my role. And they were really understanding at each step, did their absolute best to like make it easy for me to do that. I mean, they knew I was going through that, and they stepped in ways that I, can only thank them for.
So talking about your co-founders, can you tell me, like, when you have issues, and you do, sometimes you have different points of view, you have difference of agreement, or you're just not seeing eye to eye on certain things. How do you overcome that with a co-founder?
I think one of the things that's helped us the most is being very slow in our conversation, restating what each person is saying. A lot of times the disagreement comes from an assumption that's 3 steps away from the thing we said. So when we take the time to work back and say, do I understand correctly that is maybe why you're thinking this or feeling this? And then we say yes, but actually, and then kind of one step lower, all the way back to some belief that that's the real difference versus maybe the thing that it presents as.
So to clearly communicate to one another and be highlighting certain situations before they escalate. Iron out things so that they don't build into something that's a little bit out of control and you can't really manage it. Because by that time, I think you have maybe some more frustrations which are harder to get over, rather than just putting it on the table and saying, look, this is where I am, I don't understand what you mean, or can we just clarify what this is about? That clear communication sometimes, even with clients, with partners, it helps a lot if you just are able to communicate early on, I've always found.
Absolutely, that's a big part of it.
Beautiful. So let's talk about your proudest moment. What would you say has been the proudest moment for you as a founder so far?
Yeah, sure. So it didn't necessarily lead to a big success, but there was this one just crazy week. It was at my previous startup, Activate Staff. It was a staffing platform for industrial workers and healthcare workers. And we got the opportunity to present to Randstad, which is one of the largest staffing agencies in the world. And it was at least 50 times larger than any other customer we'd had at the time. And the thing we chose to present was this new model for how staffing could work. It was, we called it a managed marketplace. And the idea was that you could sort of build your own Uber-like experience rather than having your in-house recruiters handling everything. Their job is to manage the marketplace. And so this wasn't how our product worked at the time. We had to come up with an entirely new way for the existing product to function. Mm-hmm. So, we obviously in 1 week before the demo, we didn't have time to actually do it. But what we did was we sketched out a story outline of how would this look if it really behaved this way. That the sort of agency's job is to manage the set of workers available and the set of clients who are trying to book those workers, and not to actually recruit themselves. And so me and my team, we basically sketched out faked it in the most realistic way possible. And we spent 1 week nonstop, working 18-hour days, me and the team of 7 engineers, and just okay, you click this and it'll do this, and it was all duct taped together in the most hacky way, in the most kind of pseudo faked way. And we just put the whole product into a completely different mode. You flick a switch and it works that way. And I was working until maybe 4 a.m. the morning before the demo, and the demo was at 8 a.m. I got 3 hours of sleep, got up and just took a cold shower, got my game face on, and did the demo. It was to my surprise, flawless. I had no idea. I blacked out almost. It was just I went through it, and my team at the end was just hey, that was really good. I think they're interested. And they all were just wow, we're really impressed by they asked a bunch of questions, we're really impressed by this. And then they started to ask questions that poked at the edges of the duct tape. Mm-hmm. And they're like, so what happens if you do that? And I was like, oh yeah, it'll do that.
Let's go this way.
In the end, like it didn't work out because they're like, you're still not enterprise ready.
Yeah.
Come back to us when you are. But like this was incredible. And so that was just like the proudest moment for just the those types of moments are what makes a team click. You come together in a strong way. You build something you never thought was possible, and like the culture really shifted from that moment.
I love that your story is not about my proudest moment is because this was a success. The impact of what you created personally for you and your connection you had with the team made it a proud moment for you because you took something that was like gonna destroy something. It was just on disaster zone, and you made it create impact, and you made something that you were proud of. That in itself, to me, just speaks volumes about you. That it's not that, and this is where I think a lot of people misunderstand that being proud of something doesn't mean you've taken it to success. It means that you've put your heart and soul into it. It means you've tried your best. You've made an effort to make this better than what it was. And that to me was just like, that's a beautiful answer. You're literally talking to me here. Like everything you're saying, I'm just like, I love what he's saying. It's resonating. It's powerful. Because the level of what you're sharing is not so much about, well, my success was this and that's why I'm so proud. It's about making a difference and coming together with your team. And this is where I think it's a success in terms of you turned something around. So I hope you celebrated. I hope you took that as a personal win if it wasn't a professional one.
Yeah, it was a bit of both. Like professionally, we continued to demo that to other large agencies. We had a swagger to us after that, like we started.
We did this. We can do anything.
Exactly.
Love that.
Yeah.
Powerful. So I'm gonna ask my last question. Although it feels like I've just started talking to you, I want to continue. But I want to know from your perspective, when you go through the tough times, and as founders, of course, you're going to face a lot of them. How do you get through that? What keeps you going?
All right, there's a serious answer and a fun answer here.
Give me both.
All right, so the serious answer, I think, is kind of like what we just touched on. There's these moments with your team that you feel way more bonded together and towards the mission and the relationship you have with each other, that you fall back into that in tough times. You don't go through it alone. It's everyone in it together, and it's so much easier to go through tough times when you feel that way. And part of the logistics to making it feel that way is everyone has equity. Everyone is valued and respected for their creative and individual contribution beyond like just being told what to do. And that's part of what makes it feel that way, right? The founders clearly sacrificing, more than everyone else, so that everyone else feels like, they're not putting themselves on the line if you're not. Those are the things I think really create the team bond that makes it easier to go through the tough times. The fun answer, when my first startup, like 10 years ago, I was, coding late night, working with the back-end developer, and we were just like burnt out. He's like, hey, here's something I like to do when I'm just feeling this way. And he puts on R. Kelly, I Believe I Can Fly.
Oh, okay.
So that's become my thing now. It's like when you need it, you pull it out for that moment.
And then you start flying. There you go. I love that. Whatever keeps you going, whatever gives you that motivation, whatever, hits the spot, you got to just tap into that. And I love the fact that you do. I mean, that's not something that you would think, okay, we're going to play this loud, but it works for you. So go for it. That's it. Next time I see you, I'm just going to play this for you as you're walking along. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I know when I met you, I was like, okay, this is a fountain of wisdom right here in such a young age, but you've accomplished so much. You've achieved so many things that for me, I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot. Like when I was just reading to prepare your intro, I was thinking, this is a lot of things that one person has achieved, and it seems like it's just the start.
I'm not sure how young you think I am.
Well, you look pretty young. So whatever you're doing, it's working. Go with it. Take it as a compliment. It's working really well. But honestly, there is a certain energy with you that it's raw, it's authentic, and it's very, let's say, enigmatic. You've got something that I'm going to be watching you. Not as a stalker, but as someone with intrigue, because I can see that you still have interests that are developing, and you're still going to be creating new trends, not following them. So I'm just really interested to see what you're doing, and I'm super proud that I was able to get you on the podcast. So thank you for sharing your insights.
I'm really glad to be here. Thank you so much.
So guys, that was an incredible introduction to Ahmad and all the amazing things that he's creating. If you want to follow and see what he's doing more, we'll tag everything so you can get in touch with him. But thank you, Ahmad. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we're gonna wrap up the session. Take care.